The West Bloomfield Educational Foundation, with that being said, essentially is celebrating and preparing for their big casino night. Get ready for an unforgettable evening, I should say, at the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation's Casino Night. This will be on Friday, February 7th, 2025 at the Glen Oaks Golf Club, I should say, in Farmington Hills. This exciting event supports innovative programs and educational opportunities for students and teachers in the West Bloomfield School District, like we just recently talked about. You can choose from 3 ticket levels for this Casino Night event: the $50 Card Shark, the $100 Diamond, or the $150 High Roller. Each packed with gaming chips, raffle entries, appetizers, desserts, late night pizza. It's going to be a very, very fun event. If you can't make it, by the way, they do have ways that you can donate as well. So find out more about Casino Night and all the efforts that they have going on, like we said, directly on their website, wbef.org, for more information. Also, stay tuned. Later on in the show, we should be joined by a volunteer of the West Bloomfield Educational Foundation's Casino Night. We'll talking about that very, very soon. For the time being, we're all experiencing this harsh winters, on and off snow, freezing temperatures. What is the cause of some of this harsh winter storms, and how can we all manage? I am not the professional, which is why I'm currently being joined by the professional from the Warning Coordination Meteorologist, I should say, with the National Weather Service of Detroit and Pontiac. We want to welcome Jacqueline Anderson. Thank you for joining us, Jacqueline.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, first and foremost. So on and off crazy weather, winter storms, icy, temperatures below freezing. We get it all here in Michigan, first and foremost, but the winters can be a little bit harsh and a little bit moderate at times. So I just want to immediately go into some steps that we can take as West Bloomfield residents to prepare for severe cold weather that we experience, or the snow.
Yeah, so there's a few things that you can do to prepare. Always make sure you have dressing in warm layers, especially if you're going to be spending time outside. If you have travel plans, make sure you have emergency supplies in your car, and just make sure that you're taking those precautions, and always check the forecast before you leave, because you never know just how cold it might get that day or how much snow that we're expecting on a given day. So making sure that you're staying up to date with the forecast so you can prepare ahead of time is really important.
Very, very correct, especially with us getting piled up snow. You never know if your car is actually built for it until you're in that situation. So check your tires, emergency kits with flashlights, blankets, maybe heating pads, warmers, things of that, batteries and flashlights. Try to ensure that you're keeping all of these things in mind for your car and things for your home and other places that you can potentially be trapped in during these weathers. So with you representing the National Weather Service, Jacqueline, how does your organization, National Weather Service, ensure that we are all receiving timely communication from possible severe cold weathers in our area?
Yeah, so when we're expecting extreme cold, we will issue certain products ahead of time. So if we're expecting wind chills to reach 15 degrees below zero, that's our threshold for issuing a cold weather advisory. And that actually applies to either air temperature or the wind chill. So if it's a light day where it's cold and there's not a lot of wind, but the temperature is bitterly cold, we can still issue these cold weather advisories. But more oftentimes than not, we're going to be dealing with the wind chill and the combination of the cold temperatures and the wind on top of it. And if we were to, it's pretty rare here in Southeast Michigan, but if we were to run into a day where the wind chill temperatures fall to 25 below zero or colder, that would trigger what we call an extreme cold warning. Ooh. So we do have a few different products that we issue for the extreme cold to provide that tap on the shoulder and that heads up that cold weather's coming your way.
Oh my goodness, just talking about temperatures and wind chills like that is making me cold. But okay, so that kind of makes me think about one thing is crazy that people even play football in that type of weather. That's a whole nother subject. But I want to kind of ask you, this is a random question that went in my mind when you were talking about that. Some of the warnings when we are expecting this crazy below zero temperatures and wind chills, are we expecting to hear like some of those sirens? Does the National Weather Service that you represent from Detroit, Pontiac, do you all like signal those alerts that we usually hear in case of those natural disasters?
Yeah, so any of those watches, warnings, advisories that pertain to the weather, those are directly coming from us here at the Weather Service. And then they're disseminated out through all these different means of communication to make sure that people have multiple ways to get that information.
Okay, good. And then we also do our part here at Civic Center TV also to make sure we're giving out the tools and the tips and information for our local residents. Thank you again for that. Joining us right here live on the Splash, Warning Coordination Meteorologist for the National Weather Service, Detroit, Pontiac, Jacqueline Anderson, giving us some nice tips on preparing for these harsh winters. And also, I want to dive into maybe even the cause of some of these winters. I know we hear a little bit about climate control and climate change. I did get some information from an article from the Associated Press. One thing that said the U.S. witnessed 27 weather-related disasters in 2024, each causing over $1 billion in damage. I believe most of us are familiar with the hurricanes in Florida being some of the most devastating. With that being said, we haven't experienced hurricanes, but we get these on and off storms. How does a warming climate influence the frequency and severity of a polar vortex that we experience here in Southeast Michigan?
Yeah, it's tough when you hear about the warming climate, but yet we're dealing with the cold aspect of it right now. And with climate change, the big thing is that these extreme events, whether it's heat waves, extreme cold, wildfires, whether it's the hurricane seasons, a lot of we look at that from a large perspective. And when it comes to climate change, these high impact events are becoming more frequent. And that's what we're really looking at when we're trying to kind of see, how is climate change maybe impacting these cold snaps that we're seeing? Are we seeing them more frequently? Are we seeing heat waves more frequently? So that's the frequency of these more extreme events are definitely kind of tied back to that climate change aspect.
Okay. And I'm glad you kind of brought that up. I mean, if we are able to dive into that a little bit more, some more things that I found from that Associated Press article. Earth experienced its hottest year ever in 2024 on record, surpassing the 1.5 degrees Celsius warming threshold, or that's 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. This is signaling urgent climate change impacts as well. How is climate change impacting, and just go into details, the patterns and the seasonal variations that we are experiencing in greater West Bloomfield?
Yeah, so a lot of the seasonal variations that we see, especially in the wintertime, are tied to these large-scale global circulations that are happening across the globe. And so right now we have seen the La Nina start to emerge, but it is a weaker La Nina, which means the weather patterns that we're seeing aren't necessarily staying locked in place, but we're seeing these undulations within the jet stream, these colder surges of air coming down. Then we start to moderate a little bit, we get a little bit warmer, and then we get this additional surge of colder air. So this winter, the weaker La Nina that's moved into place, we're seeing a lot more kind of fluctuation between the really cold temperatures and then the mild temperatures. So it's all tied into the global circulation that's impacting really everyone across the globe.
Yeah, I thought it was me. I was looking at the weather ahead, and we had like a week of temperatures below freezing. Now we're getting a week of temperatures maybe at or above freezing slightly. Now we're getting on and off snow, and then the snow melts. The snow barely even stays nowadays. It's just so much to dive into, but it's also interesting to see how it all ties to what we're all seeing across the entire nation and world, to be honest. And we appreciate your information and for being here. Before we let you go, any steps that our local greater West Bloomfield community can take, the residents, to mitigate the impacts of some of these extreme weather events caused by climate change?
Yeah, I'd say your best course of action is to not only be aware of what the weather is coming ahead in the upcoming days, but have preparedness plans in place. Have these discussions with your family, your friends, at work, whether it entails discussions about winter weather or severe weather when we get into the convective season. Make sure you're just having those conversations. Have a preparedness plan and be prepared ahead of time.
Please do. Be proactive instead of reactive, I should say. That way you are prepared for these winters that we all get on and off right here in Michigan, I should say. We want to thank you again so much for your information. Warning Coordination Meteorologist for the National Weather Service of Detroit, Pontiac, Jacqueline Anderson. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.